Seems legit.
Alrighty, so we're going to get started. As you can see from the title, this is a Coddiwomple. I didn't do an intro because I have made one of these before. It's 4 AM where I live at the moment. I'm just awake for whatever reason. So I'm putting all my hardware into a bowl because it's just easy to deal with. And I did actually just grab one of my packs because I also thought that would be easier. So the difference with this one today is this is actually not quite wide enough to do it. So we're going to attach the side bits, and in place of a pocket we're going to have this really cool lionfish. I love this print, I think it's fabulous. So I'm going to go to a 2.5 stitch length, and then I'm going to make sure that this is up the right way. Now you can see there's a little bit here, that won't matter, that'll get stitched in. So we're going to stitch this onto the side here. Now you can make this whatever size you want. I have overmade it, like oversized it, and I will just trim it down in a minute. Chop off that, trim the tails, and then we're going to do the same to the other side. So that's going to go there. Because this is also the back print, what's going to happen is hopefully it'll just look like it's all meant to be there. And it's quite a busy, if this wasn't such a busy print, I'd probably try and match up the fabric. I think it'll be fine. Now, if you want to, depending on what you're making it out of, I'm going to open this seam out flat to get it as flat as possible, and I'm going to iron it down. But I will do that in a second. If you wanted to, you could then top stitch this down on either side, depending on if you want that top stitch look here or not. But that looks cute. This will be a little bit too big, so I will iron that flat and then trim it down to size. But because I'm still doing the back slip pocket, so I am going to want to do that before I get up, and then I can just go to the iron once. So that's my slip pocket. And that piece. So I decided to eliminate the zipper pocket on the front because the person I'm making this for probably wouldn't use it anyway. And again, I've done the print here. Now, if you had a smaller panel, you could have made the slip pocket. The, oh, what's it called? The panel? Sorry, my brain's still waking up. Okay, so we'll line that up. We're going to stitch, we're going to back stitch. Needle down. Make sure it's lined up. If you want to, definitely put some clips in. Back stitch. Trim off your tails. If you trim them as you go, it's always cleaner and easier later. I'm going to take some scissors and just trim off the corners. Now, you don't do this. Lots of people have a habit of doing that. What you actually need to do is cut a little bit deeper. Otherwise, it won't sit as flush as you're hoping. So I always usually do it in like 2 snips anyway. And then that way, when we turn that through, we should get a nice point at the corner. And again, bin. I actually find, now that I've rearranged, I've got the bin hanging off this edge a little bit, so I can just push down straight into the bin. I'm also finding less gets on the floor, because I can see the bin as opposed to pushing it off the end and guessing. Alright. So I'm just going to use my fingernails to push out those corners. And then I need to iron this and go and make this flat. We're all ironed up now, so I'm just going to top stitch the top edge of the pocket I think it looks nice, and it helps keep that crease nice and firm. Now you can wash these bags. If you think you're going to need to wash them, or you plan on washing them, we just won't seal up the hole where the frames go in. Alright, so let's take our back piece, and we're going to find the center bottom, like we always do. And we're going to find the center bottom of this one, and then we'll just line it up and stitch it down. You can measure, but this is ultimately a lot quicker, I think. And there's no number concerns. So what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to start here, and I'm going to go along the bottom and then up the other side. And then that way there won't be any gaps later, and we can treat it as one piece without being worried that we miss it. So you just want to make sure it's within the seam allowance. And pivot up. So I'm top stitching 1/8 of an inch, which for me is the center of my foot. That's how I can eyeball 1/8 of an inch. Alright, trim off all your tails. So that's our back piece done. And our front piece done. So that was easy enough. So let's put them right sides together and join them. Actually, before we do that, sorry, we do need to put on our interfacing. Now, today, for these, because they hold food, I like to use the insulated batting because it's going to keep the cold in or the heat in better than if you were to just use the normal bag foam. But you can use normal bag foam if you don't have it or you don't want to get it. So I'm going to use some basting spray, which is for quilting. This stuff comes in super handy. And I'm going to make sure I spray everywhere. Now this stuff can get a bit stinky. And then I'm going to lay that down. Smooth it out. Flip. Let's do the other side. And I always put the lid on because I have a child who likes to push the buttons. I always put the fluffy side out. I don't know if that's right or not, so I'm not going to lie to you, but it's what I do. So then we're going to just make sure the edges are lined up. And we're going to stitch at 1/2 inch. Now I can give away these measurements because this is my pattern. I don't do it on other people's patterns because it's not my place to do so. This is a little bit big. That can happen for a few reasons. This stuff does stretch. Or it could have slipped while I was using the templates. Back stitch. That is now, I went too fast with the back stitching and it got tangled. I can feel it. The more you use your sewing machine, the more in tune you'll be with it, and you can tell when something's up before it happens. So we're going to line it up, and we're going to stitch. Make sure that you back stitch at both ends. And then we want, I didn't put the handles on. That's okay. Bag feet. 1, 2, 3, 4. I should just pull this out, it'll be much easier. 1, 2, 3, 4. I love a good bag feet. I think they look nice. They elevate it out of spills. My customers seem to like them. There's not many things I don't put bag feet on unless it's like a really small bag or a floppy kind of hobo-y style shoulder bag. But that's just me. Now you can put your bag feet anywhere you like. As a general rule, I tend to do between 2.5 to 3 inches in from the edge and always 1.5 inches from that edge. It's just something I do. You'll figure out what you like. So now we're just going to punch the holes, line it up, push it down. This is the 2mm hole punch. I do stock them on my website because a lot of you kept asking me where to get them from. So I got them in for you. Alright. If you're in another country, you can buy them from me, but there's probably somewhere near you that'll work out cheaper because postage is horrible. But unfortunately, I can't control the postage price. Right, so they're clicked on now. So now we're going to use this to squish them down. I also sell these ones on my website. Because again, I was getting a lot of private messages and emails to my Facebook page, not to my Facebook page, to my, what's it called, email account, asking where to get them. So I started stocking them. The dies I just used to squish these are under rivets. So when you go to buy the rivets, that's the rivet press at the bottom. But you can also use them for bag feet. Okay, center. Again, always with the center. Now even though I haven't put handles on, once I put the base in, it's actually going to open this up and I'll be able to put the handles on that way. So that's what we're going to do. It's not the end of the world if I forget to do something. There is always a solution. Center. We've already got the center of the other side. And so now I'm going to line it up here. I'm bringing back Scully. Because it's spooky season and all that jazz. Oh, we should get him a hat. So it's like a lid hat. That'd be so cool. Alright. And then we're going to... So I always do one straight edge, then the opposite straight edge. And I always have the clips facing the base because that's what's going to be side up. Clip along. So this bag's fairly quick once you take out that front pocket because I know a few people were having a few issues. It's not the easiest pocket in the world to do. That top bit can get a bit fiddly, but it is pretty. And I'm pretty sure there are other... I know there's at least one other pattern that makes a similar thing and they just do it a little bit differently. So you could always follow their instructions if you didn't like mine. So we're just pinning around the corner now. So I've got base stabilizer here. So essentially that is the seam allowance. So it should sit flush because of... So this should all just tuck in perfectly inside because this is technically where we're going to sew. So it kind of helps to hold everything in place. I am also opening out these side seams to keep them flatter. Not that this machine couldn't go over it, but it just does look neater. That's your choice though, you don't have to. So you see when I push that down, we get this little kind of bubble in the vinyl. That's totally normal. For anyone that's new to sewing, totally normal. We also could have made this bag with binding for those that do love binding. You just make the whole interior and then bind the bottom on. Okay, so I've got lots of clips, but it's holding very nicely. You can even look in and make sure that there's no kind of issues. So now let's stitch this. So I'm going to stitch and back stitch and hope I didn't just wreck my thread. I'm also nearly out of bobbin thread, which is why I'm not making the straps yet, even though I know I need to do them. I am essentially just waiting for the bobbin to run out. So we're just going to maneuver it around each of the corners. And you want to keep an eye to make sure it's stitching, because I'm pretty sure it just stopped. It did. So we got that far, that's alright. We'll put the new bobbin in. I always like to finish what I'm doing and then I'll go and make straps. That's just how I like to operate. Stitch and back stitch, and I'm just going to go back a few stitches so it locks in those old ones as well as the new lot. So I did about an inch of overlapping, I guess, if I had to name it, but I obviously didn't measure it, I just eyeballed it. And back stitch. Okay, so see how it's now going to sit up a bit? That'll be easy to put the handles on. I have already ironed them all. And they're all looking wonderful. So I folded in the ends so that there will be no raw edges. You could also make straps that are half vinyl and half fabric if you wanted to. They make for a firmer handle. You could also put interfacing, a strip of interfacing in the middle of these to make them stiffer as well if you wanted. I kind of like the floppy handle on this. This is what I made for my own. Make sure it's not twisted. Makes for easier sewing. And even though I've ironed it, I'm just making sure that that edge is all lined up. Since it's so early, I am going to try and get a second video out today. Across the end, and this side's always quicker. Get to the end, I'm going to slow down to back stitch so it doesn't have a meltdown. Trim off all the tails, and that's one strap. Now let's do the normal handles. And if you don't want to make the handles like this with fabric, you can actually just use a webbing as well. So that's an option too. I sell them in 1.5 meter pieces, so you just need 2 packs, and you'd leave one for the shoulder strap and cut the other one in half. The handles, or not quite half, a little bit less, but you get the idea. So there's quicker ways to make these bags. So if you're going to do them for markets, my suggestion would be to make all of the straps out of webbing, because it'll save you a bunch of time. And then you just match your webbing to your lining colour. Useless facts my brain have. I don't do markets anymore, but if I did, I would definitely be doing that because I love these. My husband uses his every day for work, and every time we leave the house, we fill it full of snacks for like the road trip snacks. So in my family, we've all got one each. And then we fill it full of snacks, and that's what you get on your road trip. And they are big enough that if you want to, you can put an ice block in the bottom to keep all your snacks cold. And back stitch. Okay, so that's now all our handles done. And so now I'm going to find the center top, just because it's going to be easier. Right, like that. And then, actually we might deal with this strap so that we can get rid of it. Now, because it's all fabric, I won't be using rivets. I'm just going to stitch it down because sometimes it's nice to just stitch things. So we're going to go up and down through that middle bar, and then we're going to stitch it down in like the zigzag cross thing. It doesn't have a name that I'm aware of. I'm sure it does. And then we're going to come diagonally up, across. Always make sure that your needle is down when you pivot, and then come back to where we started, back stitch. Ta-da! Alright, so I'm smoothing it along. We're going to put one of these on, and then I always need to pull it tight to make sure it's not twisted. In my early days of bag making, it got twisted a lot. So now I'm really paranoid. And I constantly check it. Oh, stop it. See, like right now. Is it twisted or is it just giving me grief? Because it can. Nope, we're fine. I was just having a moment. So then I'm going to pop this on here, fold it over. I want a little bit more than that. You want a little bit more than a square, so there'll be a rectangle amount. Stitch and back stitch to lock in your stitches. Diagonally up, across against the hardware, and then diagonally down. And back stitch. Right, so that's the shoulder strap done, so we can put that aside. Let's grab our actual handles. So, I'm going to slide this on, just because it'll be easier in a minute. And again, we're going to slide it on, like that. Now, because I've already joined it, I'm going to have to do all this from inside the bag, but that's okay. So we're going to come down and in. So I'm just going to use my ruler. We want 3.5 inches in and 5 inches down. And I'm giving you these measurements, A, because it's my pattern and I can if I want to, and B, because if you're actually sewing along while doing this, no, you don't have to stop and look at your pattern. And then I'm going to do the other side and mark it as well. Now I'm paranoid. Did I do that at 3 or 3.5? That was 3.5. I was just checking. And then this side. Okay, so now all that's marked, all I have to do is lay the handles down. So I'm always going to start with the side that's going to have the D-ring. Now you can do it left or right. It technically doesn't matter, so long as it's the same for both of them. So I'm going to line that up. I'm going to pop in here. And I'm going to stitch, back stitch. And then we're going to go up. We're going to go back. Why am I going back? So I don't have to twist it around so much. Right, so that's the crisscross there. Then we're going to slide the D-ring down and tack that so it can't move. And I'm going to go back and cut twice to really kind of set that in there. In case you are using the shoulder strap. I rarely do, but it's nice to have it as an option. So now I pull this out so it's flat and then curve it round and stick it on the next bit. And this way, this also worked out so that I'm not in the way of the lionfish at all too. So we're not cutting off any of the design by putting it here, which is nice. Oops, and I just lost my thread. Apparently you're meant to hold the thread every time you start stitching with this, which I never do, which is why this sometimes happens. If I left the long enough tail, it also wouldn't be a problem. Anyway. Okay, I can't see. Got it. So this little light, I love this light. It's a magnetic light. It's from Hathco, the brand. A lot of you people did ask me when I first got it where I got it from. It wasn't an online store, so I can't officially direct you to one, but I can tell you it was from like a hardware store. It is amazing. It is USB rechargeable. If I wanted to, I could have it permanently plugged in, but I didn't want a cord hanging around, which is why it's like this. Okay, so that's that one stitched down. Excellent. So that's one handle in. We can just tuck it inside the bag. Now let's do the second one. Where did I put it? I'm sure it's staring me right in the face and I just can't see it. Ta-da! Alright, so again, we're going to do, so here's where that one is. So we have to put it on the opposite side, otherwise your crossbody strap won't work. I can't see my markings at all. Oh wait, there it is. There it is. So again, this I could have, instead of stitching the base on, I could have instead unstitched one side to sew these on easier. But where's the fun in that? I'm already here now, and I don't like to have to unpick if I don't have to. Ugh. There we go. In she blows. Needle down, pivot. And then we're going to backstitch. Why am I so comfortable backstitching this? The official answer is because it's not vinyl. This machine can handle this many layers of other stuff just fine. Okay, then we slide the D-ring down. Ah, it's twisted. There we go. So slide it down, and then I want to stitch it so it can't move. back stitch, forward, back, forward, back. That'll do. May seem like a lot of stitches, but you don't want it to fall off. So it's better to have too many than not enough. And as fabric, you won't damage it by doing that much back stitching. So pull it out, twist it round, and then let's go find the next set. The chalk came off, so we're just going to measure it again so that I don't mess it up. I mean, I suppose it's a good and a bad thing that I can't find the chalk line. It means that it'll come off and get out of my way, but it also means I couldn't find it when I needed it. Okay. We're going to stitch, back stitch, stitch. Then I'm going to back up then we can pivot and go across, and then we can come diagonally up. And then that way, by doing the reverse, I don't have to contend with the whole back. And that's nice. And these are getting blunt. Right, handles on. So that's the exterior done. Let's move on to the lining. There's not many pieces now. But we do need our zipper stoppers. Now I have sewn this. I have done one where I sewed the zipper into the end, and it can be done. I just found it less than helpful. So there to there. Cut the zipper. I'm using white Skittles. I called it Skittles because it reminded me of Skittles when I first got it. Crack the zip. I'm using whatever's in my drawer. So we're going with chunky because that's what I've got. A fish zipper pull would be super cute right about now. Or some like funky seaweed or a mermaid. If you're into your crazy zipper pulls, which I totally get why you would be, because you'd only need one, this would be a great place to put them. Alright, so I did iron these, but me and my iron are apparently fighting. So, I'm just going to slot it in like this, and then stitch it, clip it down so that it doesn't move, because it's going to try to. And then we'll do the same to the other end. Now I could probably put these on last. And just sew the zipper in. But that's not, you know, what I feel like doing. So I'm not putting the zipper all the way to the back of these. I'm just putting them in probably halfway. You could instead just do like a vinyl over the end. The choice is yours. Also, you can do this, you can stitch these on very, very last, but then you've got the whole weight of the bag doing it. I think that I wrote it in the pattern by putting these on last, but let's do something different. Just because we can. You could also just put zipper ends on instead of fabric tabs if you wanted to. Use more hardware. They are quicker. I don't know why I keep telling you all the different ways to do stuff. I guess it's just in case your brain hasn't quite thought of it. Or if you forgot something existed, I'm here to remind you. So if I had have put any other vinyl on the bag, I probably would have done vinyl zipper tabs here. But I do kind of like how these look, because then they'll match the bag really nicely. Alright. So that's that done. We're going to open the zipper right up. We also need to find the center. Actually, we need to find the center. Let's close it. Fold it in half. We're going to grab 2 clips, because this is the easiest way to do it. Always have the teeth up. It's harder to bend it the other way. Trust me, I've tried. We're going to mark the center of both sides with a clip. Then we can zip it open. So then our lining pieces, we're just going to find the center, give it a little clip. Same with this one. Give it a little clip. Right, I'm going to do one at a time though. So, we're going to take this right sides up. We're going to line it up, the clip with the snip. Then, so with this, you want to have the zip close to the edge, but we're going to have a little bit of a gap. But not big enough that your food will fall out. It's like tiny. And the reason for that is again, I did sew one with the zip where it goes all the way into the seam, and it just makes it a little bit harder to use the frame, in my opinion. But I did it because I thought it was going to be quicker at the time, and I wanted to test the theory. It does work, I just don't like it as much. So then with the zip at the edges, I'm going to just tuck it under and clip it down. Okay. Then I'm going to just tack that down right at the edge. I'm normally not one for tacking, but I think it's going to make my life a bit easier. And I'm all for easier. Right, so it's tacked down. You won't see these stitches, but it's just holding my zipper in place. Then let's grab the other side and do the same thing. So this right side's up, zipper right side's up, line it up in the center, and then work our way out. Tuck it under and clip it down. So again, if you didn't join the zipper, you'd obviously just have it free. But I'm just, again, trying to show you different ways to make the same thing. Because otherwise, what's the point in watching the video again? Or you may have an already made zipper, like a clothing zipper or something, where you can't open it. Spotlight has some funky chunky ones, so if you wanted to use like a chunky resin zip, this would be the way you do it. Alright, right on the edge of that zip is where we want to stitch right now. It's just going to tack it in place. Until we join it to the bag. Okay, so push the zipper inside, and then we're going to stitch the sides closed. Ah, again with the thread. Oh, I know what the problem is. I've nearly run out of this green thread on the spool, so it keeps snagging. I think that's its problem. I do have another one, but I'm not wasting what's left. There's probably still 100 meters. Right, trim off these tails at this end. This one got caught through, so we pull it out. And so again, I'm going to tuck the zip in out of the way. And then stitch down this edge. Now again, if you want to, you can use clips down the side. Stitch, back stitch. Make sure that your zipper pull is not getting caught in this. Right, center bottom. Just while we're here. And center here. You can also find the short side center if you want to. And this will be where the seam goes. If you want to make it a bit easier. I didn't do it on the last one. But if you do it like that, then that's seam, center point, seam. Now I'm going to leave a gap because we're going to turn it through a gap in this, and then stitch it shut because there's no zipper pocket to turn through. I mean, you could put a zipper pocket on the inside, but it's a food bag, so I'm not sure why you would. You could also turn it into like a nappy bag, I suppose. So this is the side we're going to keep open. So I'm going to put one in the center, and then I'm just going to come out to the side, and then out to the other side, and then steal that clip, and that's going to be our gap. So then we just need to work the fabric into the corner. So this is a really lightweight waterproof canvas. It's about 270. My normal waterproof canvas is a 3. Or is it 210? I don't know. It's definitely lighter, but it's still plenty strong enough for bag lining. And I can't get this color any thicker. We all know my obsession with green. Actually, and a lot of customers, like a lot of custom orders, pick this. Like I didn't pick this for this bag. My mate came over and went, ooh, ooh. So we're going to straighten that. And then we're going to start where we're going to have the gap. We're going to stitch and we're going to back stitch. And then we're just going to work around that corner. And we want to clean our clips up as we go. You should be able to see this side better. You constantly want to try and keep it as smooth as possible is the idea, which is why I keep flipping this end around so it's not distorting the fabric where I'm actually trying to stitch. Alright. So any leftover threads that you can see, trim them off. Alright, so that's the hole we're going to have to put it through. And then we can just take this and pop it in. So I'm going to line up that side stitch. So I'm going to open out this seam, line up that bit, and I'm going to have the clips face the lining. And then center point with center point here. And then you can kind of clip in between the two, if you like so. Then again, I'm going to come to the side seam, because we want the seams to line up. It looks very professional when they do. Next time you're in like a shopping centre, go to a bag shop and go take a close look at the bags. You'll find that there's a bunch of seams that just annoy you. Now that you can sew bags, it will now annoy you. I've played this game. I do it all the time. It makes me feel really good about A, my sewing, and B, because I sell bags, about what I charge for my bags. Like I saw a bag the other day. It was on sale for $40, I think. It was a cute enough shape, but there was raw edges everywhere, and the lining was like, I don't know, this weird, it wasn't waterproof canvas, but it was this weird fabric. I don't know. I've clipped all the way around. They just put like this dodgy binding stuff on any seam they couldn't be bothered with, but the binding wasn't even neat. I'm not saying that's all bags. It's probably like from in Australia, Australian bags, the cheaper bags are like that. The more expensive ones probably aren't. But it's just fun to look. Always stop with the needle down before we move this around. And I have forgotten something, so I will have to rectify that in a minute. I just ran out of bobbin thread again. Oh, I did. Alright, let me do a new bobbin. New bobbin accomplished. So I'm just going to go back over the last few stitches. That was literally the whole gap. But it's fine. Now, trim off all the tails. Now, the thing I forgot was the interfacing for the base. Now the reason I want to have this is because we don't want all the cool or heat or whatever to escape straight out the bottom. It kind of defeats the purpose. So I'm just going to tack it on. So you notice I'm not even clipping or pinning it or anything. I'm staying just outside of the seam allowance. It's literally just to add it on so that all my stuff stays cold. I'm not trying to stitch it exactly into the original stitching or anything like that. It just needs to exist. That's all I actually care about. Alright, it's not the most exciting, but it's on, which means now the base has more or less likely chance of all the heat coming out. So, the gap. We're going to stick our hand in. I'm going to grab the base. I'm going to push it. And I've left a nice big hole so that this is not too tricky to turn through. But if you don't like this method, you can do the binding on the base. You just join all the base pieces as one. Right, so that was very easy to turn through because it's a nice big hole. And then push out all of the base, make it look nice. Oh, and it's beautiful. See, and this bit is at the side anyway, so our little added bit here is at the side. So you won't even notice it. It just blends in with the rest. Alright, so now I'm just going to put my finger into the hole and pull, and 9 out of 10 times it will fold itself down to where you want it to go. Add some clips if you need to make sure it behaves itself and lines up. And then we're just going to stitch it closed. Now, because I want to, I'm going to grab one of my fabric tags and put it in that seam. Right, so from the base, you want it to hang out. So this is how I want it. So I'm going to shove it in the opposite way, and then that should work. So you want to try and stitch as close to the edge as you can while still getting both the layers. Back stitch. Oops. Then push the whole base. Again, I'm going to stand up for this. And I just want to show you this. Because I put the tag in the way I did, now you see the logo from where it sits. So now we've just got some top stitching to do. I'm definitely going to put a clip here so it behaves itself. And you might need to put a few clips around so it sits where you want. So I'm going to go up to a 4 for my stitch length. And I want to make sure that the zip's out of my way. And we're going to top stitch the whole way around. Even if you're not putting a bag frame in, because you don't have to. Even if you're not doing that, please at least do 1 layer of top stitching. It will help your bag look amazing, I promise. I'm not worried about running out of bobbin thread because I literally just refilled it, so we're good there. I can do this without worrying about that. So the way I'm doing this so quickly is I'm using this hand to push the fabric down, and I'm using my fingernails to kind of pull up at the zip, which is separating everything nicely, which is helping me get a nice stitch. And then when we get back to the start, you just want to stitch and back stitch. And then trim off those tails before we move on to the next line. That way the tails won't get caught in our next line of stitching. So now we're going to go again. I'm going to stitch. I'm going to back stitch. Where I'm doing all this back stitching is where I will open up the seam. And off we go. I'm going to do this slowly. So that I leave enough gap and to make sure the fabric's not pulling. My brain suddenly wants to make a quilted binded version of this bag. Really badly. Okay, and then backstitch when we get back to the start. And now I've created a channel all the way around. Got this fabulous channel. So, on the inside that channel, we're going to clip these few stitches of the lining in between the two lines of stitching. So there's probably only about 3 or 4 stitches. And I use snips for this. You can obviously use a quick unpick, but I'm likely to wreck something. That's why I don't use them. Alright, so there should only be a few stitches. And then I'm going to take my snips, make sure I can get in. Now, you can just leave the bag like this if you wanted to. Just zip it up and off you go. It is a very real thing that you can do. And that's what the bag will look like. But I like the frame. So, this bit is always the tricky bit. Once they're in, they're fine. But it's just that starting point of moving everything out of the way, which is why I like having the stoppers on the end. You can buy them from auto shops. So when I originally designed this pattern, I just bought a few from there, and they are vacuum seal rubber stop things. And I bought a bunch of them for a couple of dollars. So they weren't terribly expensive. But they do get the point across. So that's one side in. So you can already see it's sitting beautifully and open. Now let's do the other side. The first one's always the easiest because that's obviously the way I've got the fabric going. Second one, it does go in. It just, you got to give it a bit of a wiggle. Right? And you can already see that it's starting to give the bag a lot more structure. Then we're going to push that side in. Now, if you leave this gap open, what you will find is that if you ever need to machine wash it, you just pull the frames out, wash it, and then put them back in. Do not, under any circumstances, put it in a washing machine with the frames. They will just smash. Now, it'll take the bag a minute to get used to the fact that it's got a frame. And I missed another tail. Alright. But all in all, I don't think we did too badly. And how fun does that look? And you can't even tell that we had to add that part, and then you put your slip pocket at the back. I like it. I just like to push everything down, make sure it's all sitting lovely. So I've got a nice big space. It's got my tag so that you can see the logo at the bottom, but it's not in an offensive way that's gonna like make people rip it out. If you put the tag in annoying spots, people rip them out. I'm one of those people. That's how I know it's a thing. If they're not in my way, I leave them, but if they're in like an annoying spot, they get ripped out. So that's the bag. And then don't forget we've got our shoulder strap, so it goes onto here, and then the opposite side will have one and it goes onto there. And there you go, guys, on a fabulous lunch bag. Alright, I hope you guys learnt something, and thank you for watching me while I ramble on, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.